Brought to you in part by Susan Shoup at Exclusive Realtors, servicing northwest suburbs, west and south Chicagoland, including Will and Kankakee counties. Hey everybody, welcome back to the shop. We're going to talk about the 392 swap and what I think about it, and we're going to go over some technical stuff. I'm not going to be able to test it because I'm in the Midwest. We're at some Arctic freeze right now, and there's snow and ice on the road, so I'm not going to be able to get a good test on it. I'm going to do another video after this, probably next week, to get some official numbers, but we can go by specs, stuff on paper for now. But I can tell you that, again, as we spoke, this is going to be like for like. So this isn't like a truck with some 31-inch tires with 392s or 320, small tire 321 versus a bigger tire with 392 and saying they're the same, because it's not. So some truck might have more off-road stuff on it and weighs more, and it's just you got to compare apples to apples. So that's what this whole thing's about. I can tell you that it's definitely feels snappier on the acceleration. It feels lighter on its feet. It feels like less effort to get it moving. So I'm totally happy with that. There's no cons with that. The shifts are closer together, obviously, and which is another thing nobody talks about. They talk about how the gears are close to the same, but the gears are going to shift sooner. There's less gaps. So between 1 and 2, 2 and 3, 3 and 4, there's less speed to be gained. It's going to shift sooner. So until you get to the last gear, it is different. A lot of people are just going basically by straight up numbers and like a cruising speed, which that is not really the whole point of a gear. Sure, you can cruise at a certain RPM and hold steady, and yeah, it looks like it's different just by basic numbers only. So one thing that nobody says is the fact that with the 392, now this is where your numbers can come into play. With the 392, you are always, with the transmission, taking 18% of load off of it, because you got a gear reduction there, which is the transmission is seeing less than it ever would. With the 321 is going to make it have more load on it at all times. So there's that. The engine in gears 1 through 3 is going to see less load as well. And then once, like, say you're just cruising and you get into your other gears higher up, yeah, some of the gears are closely matched, and now the engine's not going to see as much percentage loss from the leverage of the gears as it would in the lower gears. But that's how that's going to work. Another thing, the MDS. The MDS kicks on more now because it seemed like it's very touchy with load for it to stay on. But with the transmission having the axle having a lower ratio, it seems to have less load, which was making the MDS turn on even up to, I've had it turn on close to 55 miles per hour, which it's never done that before. So there is some, I guess savings there if it's working right, as far as that MDS. I haven't done any long range stuff on that, but I would say at 70 miles per hour and below, the gas mileage is probably not going to be very different. I would say above that, it probably would be substantial at a high rate of speed, but I usually, even when I had the TRX, did not travel faster than, say, 75 miles per hour. Another thing I'd like to mention, the speedometer was accurate. I did change it anyway with the Taser to match the 392, but it did nothing with the speedometer. I don't even know I asked Taser what the point of changing it is if it's not reading the speed. They said maybe if it's in 4 low or something. I don't know. I changed it after a week of driving it without changing it, and nothing changed. So I don't know about that part, but as we showed before, the speed is not based on the transmission anymore, so it's based off wheel speed, so gear changes will not affect it. So once the weather gets to a better state, as far as I think next week, I will get a better feel for the miles per gallon change. I don't think it's going to be much, but it's hard to, I can't gauge it at all because it's been like 0 degrees and colder, and it's eating the gas up just from the remote starting and just warming up in general. And I did notice one day it got up in the upper 20s one day, and I could tell on the mile per gallon meter thing that it went up, and it was staying high in a 17 to 18 miles per gallon for pretty much the duration of that day. So I'm kind of excited for the weather to get warmer and retest, get a full test on that. And I'm hoping to only lose 1 or 2 miles per gallon with this swap. Okay, in this first chart, we're showing shift points at 5,500 RPM with the red being the 321 and the green being the 392. Now, of course, the vehicle will never go this fast, but this is just basically by the numbers. And as you can see, if you look at the green, you're not just gaining first gear, you're gaining that spread. Because look at the spacing between 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3 with the 321. You can easily see there's a bigger spread there, and you're not just gaining a first gear, you're actually filling in gaps the whole way. Now here's another chart, same thing but spread out horizontally. It's kind of hard to see because I'm using, again, all 8 gears, which is not necessary for the whole acceleration part of the reason why you would want these gears for any kind of towing or just in general truck duty kind of things. So with this, I eliminated the gears past 5th gear because for the acceleration part of this, that would not be necessary. So as you can see, it's easier to see here how the green lines fill in some gaps that the 321s are just spread out. So if you can see there, vehicle speed versus gear / RPM, you are spread out more than just gaining a first gear. You are gaining a gear between the other gears, which is why it would make it a good choice to have, because once you get to 3rd gear / 4th gear for the 321, you're at the speed that you would probably be at when you're towing on the highway. Once you get past that, sure, the gear ratios are close to being the same, but it's not what the whole point of the gears are for as far as pulling a load. Now here is a chart that I did for, say, a moderate acceleration with pulling a heavy trailer, figuring the transmission will shift around 4,000 RPM. So we're not wide open, we're just kind of accelerating normally. And here is your spacing with that. Again, green is 392 and the red is 321. Here are those spaced horizontally. Again, it's kind of hard to see, so I'm going to bring it back to the closer view, taking away 6th through 8th gear. Again, here, as you can see, with the moderate acceleration of pulling, you're filling in some decent gaps with another gear there. You're gaining a lower gear. The 2nd gear is lower than the 2nd gear on the 321. Obviously, everything's going to be lower because it's a 392 versus 321. And when you're accelerating, you're not just skipping to the gear based on numbers, how people are trying to think about this. So as you can see, again, it's spaced out nice and even. Now this is closer to what people always are going by, and this is cruise RPM, but the vehicle has to get to cruise RPM in order, for this to take effect, and sure, it will make a difference there as far as maybe gas mileage, but you know, that's not what the purpose of having these are for. So this would be, say, no trailer, just driving normal. We'll just say the transmission shifting 2,000 RPM. There's a list of speeds at which you'd be traveling, and then your cruise. Now here at 2,000 RPM, you're looking at 91 miles an hour with 321 versus 75. At this point, it's very hard for a truck, depending on tires and everything, to maintain and hold the eighth gear without going back and forth anyway. But in general, if you were to take how they like to say the eighth gear versus seventh gear, so here it's showing every time you see a line drop and the RPM there, that is the RPM in the next gear. So as you can see, the black line is 321. So if you look at the seventh gear dot and you see how it drops, that is the speed that the 321 is going. So 73 miles per hour at 1600 RPM. And the green is showing at 2,000 RPM, it's going 75. So if you were to take a couple miles per hour off the 392 and match it to 73, it would be just under, it would probably be around 1900 or 1950, something like that. But you're looking at a 350 RPM difference cruising at 73 miles per hour, which I don't think is substantial. And here again, I took the other two gears off for, say, acceleration, light load. The gapping is still the same. You still have gears filling in gaps here that you wouldn't have with the 321. And that's going to give you a whole different feel for regular driving as well, as far as the whole acceleration part. Understanding that, sure, at cruising RPM will be different, but there's no way a 321 is going to outshine a 392, showing with this chart. And we're talking like for like vehicle with the same tires, weight, engine mods, everything like for like, versus using a completely different style truck and trying to compare it that way. So with those charts, as you can see, it's just more than just straight up looking at final gear ratio numbers, like transmission times axle equals this. It's just not that cut and dry. There's more to it. You're not just gaining a first gear. It's just, every time I heard that, it just didn't make sense to me. This truck is night and day difference when you're driving it. Like, it feels completely different. So I just don't buy it. It just doesn't work. From the feel of it and from what I just showed on those charts, you can easily see that. I've never heard anyone with a truck go to a lower gear ratio and say it felt slower. It just, I've never heard of it. So with that being said, that's all I got for this segment, but there may be some works for a Pro Charger on this truck. I'm working some things out that might be happening. So that may happen end of February, mid-March is the time frame I was told. So on that particular situation, I won't be putting it on. It would be something I would do, but that's not part of the deal. So I will show everything if it's done. I gotta finalize everything, but if it gets done, I'll show everything and how it was put on. But I won't, unfortunately, I won't be doing it, which, whatever. I can't pass it up if it works out for me. So please hit that like and subscribe button, and we will catch you on the next one.